Hi, my name is Gibson, and I'm the creator of the Personal Development School. This is your daily breakthrough video, and in this video, we're going to talk a little bit about creating boundaries with parents. So this is a topic that I actually get all the time asked about, discussed about inside of the Personal Development School. So I wanted to go through some really key features here to become aware of and just take you through like a scan of 5 different types of the 6 types of boundaries that will definitely apply here, and just discuss like how you can effectively set these boundaries and what you can be mindful about. The first thing I want you to understand is that many insecurely attached styles grow up in a codependent or enmeshed home. This isn't necessarily the case for everybody, but it's very common amongst people who have insecurely attached styles. So what can often take place is you're used to relating to your parents or caregivers without a sense of boundaries. It's almost like reintroducing boundaries would be a disruption to the dynamic that you're used to and a violation of the subconscious comfort zone you've both come to be accustomed to relating to each other through. And so it can be a little bit challenging at first, and that's normal. But having healthy boundaries is actually one of the most loving things you can do in a relationship with anybody. Why? Because it's you truly showing yourself to somebody. Your boundaries are the sense of your domain as a human being. It's like where you end and somebody else begins. And learning to have that healthy domain and share it and communicate about it and identify it and bring that to your relationships is actually something that allows you to be your authentic self around somebody. It's like you saying, hey, this is who I really am. I want to share it with you. The absence of that is you pretending, like people pleasing, for example, or being boundaryless is like you pretending to be something other than you are to then try to relate to somebody in a relationship. And sometimes what will happen is when we violate our own boundaries for people and relationships around us, we then just become resentful of that person. And then it just adds pain and suffering and painful dynamics to a relationship with somebody we love. And we definitely don't want to do that. So setting boundaries can be tricky because we want the people we love to be in a good place and we want them to feel happy, but we're never responsible for somebody else's emotions. So we want to go through and talk about 5 different types of boundaries that are super applicable to family dynamics. And we're going to talk about some examples as it relates to parents in terms of like how you can set boundaries or position these boundaries in these relationships. So the first one is your mental boundaries. And these are your thought or opinion boundaries. It's really easy to grow up in a home where you think because a certain parent or parents have certain viewpoints, political views, whatever views we want to talk about, it's very common that a child feels like, oh, I have to take on those views and often does take on those views. Whether somebody takes on the views of their parents or not isn't the relevant point. It's whether what the child takes on is true for them or not. That's the relevant point. So you may grow up and have the same views as your parents and really believe in those views, and that's perfect. But you also may grow up and have totally different views from your parents, and that's perfect as well. And so it's really what your authentic truth is based on your understanding, your ideas, your opinions. And when you want to set boundaries with a parent, the more you can just address things very directly, the healthier the conversation is going to go. So for example, if you say, hey, I really respect your viewpoint, but the more I've done research on my own, I actually have a different view. And this is what it is. And I hope you can respect mine too. And sometimes when we set a boundary initially, it's almost like somebody learns to relate to us through one lens for a long period of time. So they have their own subconscious programs through the way that they see us. And when we start going from not having boundaries to suddenly having boundaries, it can take somebody a little bit of time to get used to that. So the more we see our boundaries through, and we remind somebody that this is our boundary, this is our truth in this situation, and we respectfully communicate, hey, I'm going to be setting more boundaries in a relationship, or this is something I'm working on more often now. This is something I realize I have to have. The more you are going to proactively avoid conflict. And the most important part here is that we need to be able to set boundaries because it prevents us from being resentful towards the people we love. And that's a huge thing. So those are some mental boundaries. Number 2 are our emotional boundaries. This tends to be particularly difficult for people who have had a lot of enmeshment in their childhood. So What you want to define as an emotional boundary is like what you are taking on or how responsible you are making yourself for somebody else's emotional state. And it's really easy to like put that on ourselves and take things on, especially that's what we're used to. But it's really important to practice recognizing I'm not responsible for how that person feels. And it doesn't matter that it's a parent. What you can do is you can say to a parent, I love you. I'm here for you. What do you need? When you see somebody not feeling well emotionally, upset, sad, having a bad day. And then when they express a need, you can consider, am I able to meet that need for them or not, according to what my boundaries are? Maybe they say, I need you to move back into my home with me and live here 24/7. Maybe that's not something you can do. But maybe they say, I could use an hour-long phone call and some reassurance. And that's totally something you could do. So, but you have to, I can't tell you what you can or can't do. You have to tune into yourself and feel what feels right for you based on the circumstances and context of your relationship. So that's our emotional boundaries. And it's a good tool to just practice asking what somebody needs and how you can support them when you see them not feeling well, instead of just taking on all of their emotions and feeling guilt and sadness for them, because it's not even really productive to be doing that over and over again. Then we have our time and space boundaries, which is number 3. And our time and space boundaries are how much time we spend with somebody or how much space we have from them. And this can vary in a whole bunch of different ways, but the best, most effective strategy for this is define how much time you're going to spend with somebody ahead of time, in terms of what works for you in your life. And this can be different for different people again, right? So I'm not giving you these like specific answers because they're going to be different based on every person. Maybe you're somebody with tons of spare time. And maybe in that case, tons of spare time, you can spend 2 or 3 nights a week with parents or family or whoever it might be. Maybe that's something you love to do. Maybe you're somebody with very limited spare time, and then you have to really carefully consider what time you can give. But it's really important that you are taking yourself into consideration when making choices so that you can have these healthy boundaries that don't leave you feeling resentful or like you're violating your own time that you need for your own life in order to give that time to somebody else when you don't have enough of it yourself. Like, it's really important that you tune into yourself and you just check in and see like, what is reasonable for me and how can I action and execute that? And what you allow yourself to do through doing that is feel really excited to be present with that person in the time that you are giving, because you know it's an alignment for you. You know that it's in your truth, in what you want to be doing. And this is a huge deal between parents and children a lot of the time. I've seen many adults, be looking at a situation and say, I am spending 3 nights a week with my mother, and I can't do that. And I have young kids and I feel so stressed out all the time. And all we do is we leave room for poison in relationships, for resentment, for frustration, instead of like tuning into ourselves and considering. Then we have our material and financial boundaries. So material boundaries can be like your belongings, your car that always is getting borrowed, or money that's being borrowed, whatever it might be. And again, it doesn't matter what you give or don't give. It matters that what you choose to give, you thought about first, considered yourself, and you're allowing yourself to really take yourself into consideration so you can feel good about this area. And then our last one is our physical boundaries. And this really has to do in a parent context the vast majority of the time with things like how affectionate somebody is. Are they hugging you all the time? Are they not? Sometimes we have more avoidant people who don't really like to be hugged and things like that. And just really like tuning in to see what your physical, body boundaries are like, and being able to consider that quite thoroughly. So creating boundaries with parents is definitely something that you want to position by saying ahead of time, this is something you're going to start doing and why you're doing it. And then it has nothing to do with anything personal towards them, but it's actually for the health and well-being of your relationship. It's something to benefit you and their relationship together. And so you can start doing that early, and let them know ahead of time so that it's not personalized so much, because sometimes when we have enmeshed family members and dynamics, it can be really easy to take those boundaries personally. So hopefully that makes a whole lot of sense. This is just a starter. If you want to do a way deeper dive, I have 2 courses that really pertain to boundaries and parents. Number 1, the boundaries course inside the personal development school. And we have a really important dynamic there where it's like reprogramming your fears of setting boundaries and learning what your actual boundaries are as a person in all 7 areas of life. And there's tools and strategies to walk you through that, a really in-depth workbook. And you can check that out for free by clicking on the link below, which will give you access to a 7-day free trial that you can go through and check out all the courses in there for free. The other one is how to heal your family dynamics. And this has a lot to do with family trauma, family systems, understanding the different roles that we can have as adult children, the golden child, the lost or invisible child, the scapegoat or black sheep, really going through and understanding these different dynamics and family systems in general, what types of family systems exist, and how you can break through and disrupt unhealthy family dynamics so you can better nourish those relationships in your life. So hopefully this makes a lot of sense. Thank you so much for watching and for being here. Let me know if you have any questions in the comments below, and I will see you in the next video.